All right. Hello, beautiful humans. Welcome, everybody. How are you doing today? It's nice to, it's been winter in Calgary for 5 months now. I'm so excited for the spring to come around soon, to be able to see the grass and feel the sunshine on my skin without needing a parka or a big hat and mitts, just more exposure to the sunlight and the warmth of the sun. Something that I'm really excited about. Get a little bit sun and heat and green deprived by this time of year. But yeah, I'm excited for the season to be changing soon. So, how are you doing today? This is going to be a really, really powerful live. We're going to be talking about ancestral healing and working and listening. Awesome, Charles. That's totally a great way to do it. Happy to have you here. So, ancestral healing is going to be fun because actually we were doing a little bit of this in my community Monday this week, and it was really powerful. It was we were doing some karmic clearing, so healing, just kind of releasing past life stuff, karmic stuff, and then ancestral came up. So it's interesting when I put the poll out in the Facebook group in Heart Space that you guys said you wanted to learn about ancestral healing. So I thought how perfect and timely to talk about it. And before I tuned in today, I thought it was interesting because of that recent connection with the ancestral healing, and I started feeling all of these people's ancestors showing up and like my energetic field. I might do some channeled messages today from the ancestors, which definitely feeling they've requested that, so I will happily carry forward any messages that I receive, but I can kind of already feel them here. And it feels like the energy very similar to what we were doing in my community when we were doing a group healing on this. There was a lot of love and gratitude from them for those who are the ones to break these generational patterns, this generational pain that gets passed down from one line to the next. So ancestral healing is really powerful, and it's something that it's not like not something you have to look at as a burden of your job to heal your ancestors. It's really about finding freedom in yourself today. And as you do this, as you are also breaking, I've heard it called generational curses. I don't really want to call it that because a curse is a thing in and of itself. It could be an ancestral thing, but I kind of see it as generational pain that gets unconsciously passed down from generation to generation. And it keeps on getting carried forward until we have a soul with the will and the awareness to choose different options, to choose to heal and release that. And then that kind of breaks that transference pattern where it no longer is continuously getting carried forward. So, and by the way, if you're tuning in, welcome everybody tuning in on Instagram and on Facebook. Maybe just mention in the chat where you're tuning in from, what your experiences have been like, if you've done any ancestral healing before, or is this something that will be new to you? You know, when you think of ancestral healing, what do you think of? You know, what are the thoughts that come forward with that? Because when we come into the world, we come into this world, this beautiful, bright baby, this open slate, this with so much potential, and anything is possible. And of course, we still have so much potential, and anything still is possible. But when we come into the world with that newness and that freshness, the world is so open, and there's just this feeling of everything is a wonder and amazing. But we don't know at that time that we are also coming into the world with the imprints, the energetic imprints of our mother, what she experienced in the womb, and of our father through the DNA and through the psyche, through the energy that comes from them, and their parents and so on. So these things come through in the blood, in the body, in the DNA, as well as, energetically, as psychically, and as well as, I'll say karmically. Sometimes there's these things that just keep on getting passed through the family line until we become aware of them and begin making different choices. Yeah, it's a powerful tool. Yeah. Yela, am I saying that right? Yela? It's a beautiful name. I'm hoping I'm saying it right. Thanks for being here. It is. It's a very powerful tool. And let me see on Instagram conversations with self. Yes, I've done some before. Beautiful. Welcome from Ontario. Awesome. Sorry if you can hear my dog barking in the background. She used to be very shy and nervous, and now she's taking on the role of the protector. So I'm happy she's more confident, but I don't love all the barking. So we have to work on that. But with when it comes to ancestral healing, this is something that we want to bring tenderness to, we want to bring love to. Because a lot of the things that get carried down from generation to generation, it can sometimes turn into unconscious like anger or frustrations or even grudges towards the people that brought us into the world, towards our parents, because of the way that they, dog barking, because of the way that they raised us. And maybe they did things like telling us that we had to be happy all the time, or things that just kind of caused our heart to close down or feel hurt or feel unloved. You know, these are all things that happen naturally just because of the way the world is right now. But these can turn into these conscious or unconscious resentments. And that can be part of that ancestral passing down of pain, because that resentment closes off our heart to the connection with someone else. And sometimes we need to create space. Sometimes we come from an environment that is toxic and not good for our well-being, and that can be very painful to create space from family, from loved ones, because it's like we should get along and we should all be a loving, happy partridge family, but it doesn't always look like that. And sometimes the most loving thing you can do is create space, and that's okay too. But it's really about finding what is the most compassionate thing that you can do. It's the most compassionate thing for yourself. So if creating space is the most loving and compassionate thing, then that's beautiful. Doesn't mean that that doesn't mean that you're condemning these people. It means that you're choosing to honor what you need. And with that, when you do this ancestral work, a big piece of it can be finding forgiveness. So realizing that the pain that your parents shared and brought onto you was given to them by their parents and then their parents and so forth. So it's identifying less with the individual who carried that pain. It's not seeing them as that pain, as those patterns or behaviors, but rather someone who became a carrier of that pain, who received it and didn't have the awareness or tools to transform it and unconsciously pass it down to you. And how we break that pattern is by having the choice, making the choice to break it, and often getting support with the awareness and the tools in releasing it. Charles, abused by biological father and sometimes have issues with adoptive parents, probably due to what you went through. Yeah, that's understandable. That would make a lot of sense. So part of your journey, would be healing that pain there, because when someone hurts us, our protective mechanisms come out to cope, to survive, and that's natural. We don't have any other tools at that time to protect ourselves. When we're children, we don't have the power to get up and create space and leave a toxic situation. We have to find a way to protect ourselves, and that can often be kind of closing off the heart, closing down in some way. And even if there's people in your life now who are great, who maybe you want to love or want to feel connected to, but you can't seem to, it's really about going back and releasing those walls and healing that inner part. Because when we go through a trauma, when we're younger, that part of us who went through that trauma gets frozen in time at the age when the trauma happened. So say something happened, or you were abused when you were 4 or 5, then there's a part of you that's still 4 or 5 stuck in that moment in time. So when you can go back to that younger self and bring healing to that part, and that's what we do in my group programs, like we learn how to do that, heal and reintegrate that part of yourself, then it's different of the relationships of people you want to connect with today, because that part is no longer having to say, no, I need to protect myself. When that's healed and reintegrated, then we can open up the heart for connection and love, because the adult in you knows that it's safe with the right people. And it's just simply a matter of integrating the rest of you so that all of you can feel good about that. Yeah, awesome. So thank you for sharing, guys. So ancestral trauma, and if you're just joining, tell me a little bit about if you've done work on this before and where you're joining from. So nice to know. So healing this looks like that. It looks like it's a journey of learning how to heal these inner parts of us. And I believe it's very important to begin creating a sense of separation from the pain that got passed through the family line and the person who passed it through. Because when we identify with the person as their demons, we're kind of just identifying and engaging with their demons. But if we can separate their demons, their darkness, their pain, I've never done it before. Cool. Okay, yeah. So this could open up a lot of worlds for you, Charles. When we separate someone's darkness and pain from their true divine soul and essence, then we can start engaging with that level. And this doesn't mean if you need to create space from them, if that's the best thing for you, it doesn't mean bringing them into your life per se. It just means you're not holding on to their darkness anymore by no longer identifying with them as that darkness. Does that make sense? So we have this generational pain. This is the family line passing through people. So it's helpful, I find, helpful to see the pain as its own separate entity moving through. And these are all the people who get touched by it. And for every person who harmed you, they were once a young child, or they were once harmed, and they unconsciously carry that pain forward. So when we start seeing this and experiencing and feeling it, something I teach people how to do is really witness and feel what it was like to be on the other side of that, to be the one carrying it through. Then we can find compassion, understanding, empathy. We can find empathy. And then it's no longer about hating or begrudging or resenting them. Sometimes we feel sorry for them. They're like, oh, look at the pain that they went through. They carried that forward because they didn't know any better. And then it really becomes about the pain as its own thing. It's not, I don't need to resent and hate or push away all these souls. Not that you need to bring them into your life physically, but it can be a lot easier to find forgiveness when it's not about the soul. It's about the pain that passed through that soul unconsciously onto you. And it's ultimately the pain that needs to be released, the pain that needs to be healed. And when you create that separation of the pain and the soul, there's two separate entities. The pain is what causes the soul to unconsciously act in negative ways. But behind every, dictator, there's a scared child trying to feel safe. So there's that saying, hurt people hurt people. And there's also healed people heal people. So it's really us versus all of this pain, So when we start seeing that, then we can begin stepping out of that karmic loop, that ancestral cycle that moves through us. Conversations with Self says sometimes different moon cycles feel like it momentarily surfaces. Yeah, that'll totally happen, especially for women. When we go into these cycles for, when we bleed during the moon time, that is like a ceremony of healing in itself, and this darkness will come up and surface. So I used to have tremendous pain, tremendous period pain. It was just debilitating, where I would feel like I was on fire. I would be in agony. It was the most painful thing in my life, and it would happen every month. It was awful. But when I went back and I healed a past life trauma, very big one, of having been persecuted as a witch, even though I was just a healer. Anyway, I don't need to get into that. Having been persecuted as a witch and burned, that pain that hadn't been resolved was coming up during my moon cycle. Because the veil is thinner between us and our pain, it comes up to be healed and released, but I didn't know how to heal it. When I finally heal that, I no longer have pain during my moon cycle. So these are things that's not just like, not just hormones creating a false sense of pain. It's an opening and a thinning of the veil between your conscious awareness, your and experience, and the pain that's underlying. It's like a little tangent with with that. Hey Misty, welcome. So good to see you here. Good to know. This is Conversations with Self. Yeah, awesome. Welcome, guys. And welcome, Jody. Good to see you too. Yeah. And Lynn has joined. Beautiful. So when we're healing these ancestral pieces, it's good to be aware too that when we come into the world, the pain that is from our ancestors gets passed down to us, but what also gets passed down is the gifts. So it's never just darkness, of course. Everything is dark and light. And there's a lot of beauty and gifts that get passed down. And as I feel the energy of all these ancestors here, they wanted me to talk about this part too. Because there's so much love and gratitude for you that they feel. Because the souls of your ancestors have the awareness of what's going on. They have come and gone from the human experience, from the personality self, from the stories, attachments, and they've experienced that and come back out, the ones who've passed on. But their soul understands what had happened. There's a clarity that happens for the soul once they come back out of this life, and they can see from the greater perspective of themselves out of the density of the earth plane. So for those souls, they feel tremendous, so much love and gratitude for you and all that you are doing to break this generational pain so that it does not keep on looping through infinity, so that it does not continue getting passed down to the generations that come after you. So the work that you do is the work that they weren't able to complete. And while the pain gets passed down, there's also this sense of love and purpose that gets passed down of all of these souls who have worked on this pain throughout the generational line. Okay? There's a lot of love that goes into that. Because this journey of this human experience from the soul perspective is very much about love. We wouldn't come here to heal this pain, this trauma that exists in the collective psyche and the consciousness here on earth if there wasn't love there. We wouldn't choose to move through all of these challenges if there wasn't something that we dearly, dearly loved that was worth fighting for. So you can look at this ancestral pain as all of these souls who have come and did their best to help shift and heal this. And sometimes they maybe added to it, and sometimes they maybe released it. But in their own way, every soul that comes through the ancestral line is here to help heal it as best they can with the awareness that they have, because we do go through a veil of forgetting when we come into this world. Maybe the soul is very clear, okay, I'm going to go in here, I'm going to help heal this trauma in this family line, I'm going to be the one to do this, I'm ready. The soul comes in, we go into this dense earth plane frequency, we go through a veil of forgetting, we come into this world, and we're so focused on the external to understand how to navigate the physical world, and we forget that we chose to come here. We chose these parents for a reason. Perhaps we chose to be the one to break this generational pain, but we forget that. And so it plays out as, why did they treat me this way? Why is it so hard? Why is there so much pain in my family? Why is it so hard to connect with my family with an open heart? Why is there all this baggage there? Because we forget that maybe we're the one that we chose to come in to help shift that, to help heal and release that. And a lot of people who've been through a lot of pain are often ones who are healers in their heart. So I work with a lot of healers, and I work with a lot of people who need healing. And they're kind of one and the same. It's just different stages of their journey. So a lot of people that I work with have been through a lot of pain in their childhood, a lot of pain. But they come in and they grow and they heal that, and they awaken something inside of them, and they realize that, wait a minute, I've come here to help shift and heal that. I feel so much darkness in the world because I'm meant to come and help bring light to it and love to it. So this is what happens when we forget, but when we remember, then we can start fulfilling that part of the purpose that we chose to have in this lifetime. Does drumming, Conversations with Self asks, does drumming help bring things to the surface? It can. Yeah, so drumming it brings you into an altered state of consciousness, and there's a lot of power in that. So the drumming is about the rhythm, it's like the heartbeat. So uh, it's kind of choosing to connect with spirit and consciousness in a different way than perhaps you're used to, being more through the mind. So if your intention is for things to come to the surface through drumming, then it absolutely can. If your intention is to find peace and meditation through drumming, it can absolutely bring that. So there's with everything, it's the intention that we bring into it. But in any kind of altered state of consciousness, that does thin that veil and helps us to connect more with the soul. Because the soul is not rational mind. That's more the ego, which has its place and is needed in this world to navigate things. The soul is more irrational. It is consciousness, and it is wild. It is a little more it's free of the restrictions that can be imposed from rational thought. You look at it that way. So when we go into trance states, like through drumming, we're accessing that part of ourselves, and that can be very beneficial for doing this work. So with that intention, though, make sure you set the intention to be in a safe and sacred space, and the intention for what you want to bring forward in that drumming experience. Welcome, Mix Gregory. Awesome. Great. Thank you, says Misty. Yeah, let me just drop in the comments if you're getting value from this, guys. And if you have any other questions about this, I love getting questions. I love letting this be a conversation. Because when we, and I wanted to mention too with the Ancestral Healing, because we were actually just doing this Monday in my group class. We were doing this really gentle but really powerful way of releasing the pain where that part of us, and as a child or in a past life, got trapped in that moment in time because of a trauma. We're going and healing those inner parts and reintegrating them with us. And when we got onto the topic of ancestral healing, that was a big one. So it seems to be a theme now because it was what you guys chose in the poll in the Facebook group. But when we were healing the ancestral part in the group class, I was just bawling. I think that some other people were too, because there was such a profound energy of love and gratitude that was coming through. It was so beautiful. There was so much love and so much gratitude coming through from the ancestors. Like they were saying, thank you for doing what we weren't able to do. And I can feel that energy there now too. But there really is their soul, every soul that goes through that ancestral line is still here in their own way. They still have that awareness and connection with you. And there's a lot of love and a lot of gratitude for you in choosing this lifetime and choosing this ancestral line. And there's so much faith that they have in you that you can understand these pieces and you can heal the stuff. And knowing that you're not alone in it, so while it may feel like you're alone healing these things that didn't start with you, you're not. You know, those souls of your ancestors, the divine aspect of them, not necessarily their personality self, but their divine aspect of the soul, they're sending you so much love. Because this didn't start with you, and you don't have to face it alone either. So this is something that you can be nourished by, is knowing that your ancestors do love you. You know, it's not you versus them, it's all of you versus this pain that's wanting to be healed that got passed through that line. Yeah. Yeah. And that's, it's beautiful work and it's very powerful, but it's deep work. It's not always pretty. But it's a process of opening up the heart and healing the heart and reintegrating the wounded parts of our past self from childhood, from even other lifetimes. But when you do that, it frees you today. And it kind of is like, you think of the ancestral line as like a string, and this is you on it. When you heal that pain right here and now, it's like it plucks the string and it sends a ripple out for all of the generations before you and all of the generations after you. And it kind of shakes off that pain as you shift it right here and now. Because linear time is something that's on the earth plane, but in the spiritual realm, in pure consciousness, everything's happening at once. So when you heal it now, it helps to heal it across that entire line. And that's really powerful work. It is. So let me know if you have any questions, guys. I'm going to be wrapping it up soon. I'm going to think if there's any other messages that the ancestors want me to share, because there's like this whole room of them. It feels like they're just all here. And interesting that right now there seems to be a message that wants to be shared is ancestral healing. And I think the biggest takeaways that they want you to have is that you're not alone in this, that you are loved. And even if it didn't feel like you were loved when you were growing up, those souls that chose to bring you into this world in their own way have love for you, even if they couldn't show it to you because of all the pain that blocked it. And they can say certainly from themselves as ancestors, generations going back, all of the ancestors I feel here, they love you so profoundly in ways that you can't comprehend right now, but they hold you so dear and so sacred, and they hold what you're doing in this life so dear and so sacred, and they're here watching you like guides, if you will, and just they're cheering for you. And there's so much love and so much gratitude that they have for you. And that is unconditional. This is not about, when we're growing up, sometimes it feels like we need to do a certain thing and be a certain way to receive love, like money, like love is a currency. This is not that kind of love. These are just from their divine souls outside of the stories of that ancestral line, outside of the pain and stories. The pure souls who have been a part of healing this ancestral pain, who have come before you and who may come after you, they hold a pure love for you and a deep gratitude for the part that you are doing in shifting the ancestral pain. And even if you're not aware of it, you are doing your own part. Maybe you haven't received active sessions or actively worked on it, but in your own way you are. Maybe you're not choosing to do the thing that was done to you, and that's breaking that pattern. There's many layers to ancestral healing. It's through your behaviors, through your actions, and then the deepest layer is the healing and the opening within the heart. And that's what really transmutes and transforms that pain and releases it. That happens really through the heart layer. Yeah. So thank you guys for listening, for joining in. It's such a pleasure to connect with you. Thank you for being here. And such a pleasure to feel what I feel are your ancestors, or I'm sure my ancestors as well. There's energy here that I'm feeling that wanted to be shared and expressed. So I hope you received that and received the energy of that, because when there's that sharing, it's an energetic transference as well. Yeah, you're welcome. Conversations with Self. Thank you for being here. And you're welcome, Misty. Hope you guys have a beautiful rest of your day, and sending you so much love, and know that you are so, so very loved.